This is the Speakeasy podcast where we go behind the scenes of talking about what it means to be the successfully paid speaker and author. I am your host, Alex Pelzer, that part, the voice coach, founder of the World Voice League, a virtual network of female speakers coming together to impact social change. Guys, listen, I understand that the negativity is there. I get it. I understand. I've dealt with it. Sometimes a lot better than other times, but we have to understand that you are not alone in this journey. And when it comes to being the successful speaker or author, man, there's going to be so many things that come flying your way. So we're going to discuss a few of those things today with our special guest. Hello, Veronica.
Hi, love. How you doing, and audience? Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm excited to have you on. So let them know a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Okay, well, my name is Veronica Pryor-Faciane, and I am the creator and the CEO of new ID Life Coaching LLC, where we work with people that have had traumatic life experience or those that are dealing with issues with getting their mindset straight to move from the negative to the positive shift so they can become their best blessed self. Currently, I have written a book called God's Diamond in the Rough, which is about my life story. I've overcame 28 years of ancestral domestic abuse violence, financial, spiritual, and physical from my birth father. Yes, for 28 years of my life, he abused me. But I am not my trauma, and that's what mindfulness can do when you need to get past those different roadblocks in a row. We want to use those roadblocks as stepping stones to your best self.
That part, I love that statement. I am not my trauma. And so let's start out right there in that arena, because a lot of times when it comes to trauma, people think trauma is just something, a big event happening to you. But trauma can happen in our everyday. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, trauma can happen just as much as somebody coming in, we can call bullying trauma. You could be on your job and you walk in and someone says something, I'm going to say such as, well, I don't really like the way that report was structured. That could be a trauma to you as well. Because when you're looking at that, it depends on what you allow into your spirit. Just like I tell my children, I tell other people, people's definitions of you should not define you. That's just their definition. So don't allow someone else's opinion of you define who you are. You can take back, step back, and reset, and just say, you know what, I appreciate your opinion of me, but what is it you specifically need of me? And you control that. You drive your car. Just like I tell people all the time. I say, if that's your Rolls Royce or your Benz, I don't care if it's a Chrysler 1988. That's yours. You take it, you deal with what you have, and you don't allow nobody else to control it. And that's what so many people allow when they get up, where they said that I'm this, or they said, but what do you say? That's what's important. Stop having those negative conversations in your head saying, but they say, because the they says don't wake you up in the morning.
So very true. And, you know, it's often an interesting scenario when you're coming into being a speaker and an author, because a lot of times that's what we're dealing with. That first couple of years you're dealing with, this person said you got to look this way, you got to sound this way, you got to show up and dress this way, you got to have your makeup look like this, you got to, and you're just like, wait, what happened to me having a great message? What happened to me just being able to show up and impact somebody's life? What happened to those things? And a lot of times, unfortunately, those things are not always the first thing that people want to discuss for the ones that are coming in.
Yes, because to me, one of the first things, you want that know, like, trust factor. You can be, how you say, look like Marilyn Monroe or whoever you think, but if you don't have a message, it's just a mess. And I mean, to me, you meet people where you are. When you're going along your speaking journey, just like with me, because I used to direct choirs and do this. So all of that helped throughout my life's journey to make me the person that I am right now. To me, when you're building that know, like, trust, you want to get out there, and consistency is key. I don't care if you have one person. Some people may not always say like, share, or whatever. You may not show those different things when you're doing your videos. But when they see that you're consistent and you have a message that is powerful, that resonates with them, because it depends on what your niche is. You can't serve everybody. You only can serve those that really resonate with you. Because when you try to serve everybody, then you're just like in a mess. And you want to be structured, because when you have that structure, I don't care if it's one thing that you have, one specific message or one specific speaking topic. Because like when they tell you, well, get your speakers one sheet and get your messages down, and you start looking at other people, well, they have this topic and they have, no, what is your one key I don't care if it's just that one key signature topic. You speak on that and be the best at that, and then it will venture on. Because as a speaker, I'm learning that my one key topic, we're talking about trauma, whether it's a big trauma, and to me, I don't like using the word big or small, because you matter. And whatever trauma is to you, it's big to you. Yeah. So don't define yourself as, well, she's been through this for 28 years and I don't like that I only word, experience this. You matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You matter. And that's what's important. So many people don't understand that self-love. Like one of the groups I am is in this, I'm selfish. You have to be selfish for yourself. Yes, you can take things from everybody else, but you have to make it your signature topic. You have to make your coaching business your signature coaching business. Not what everybody else is doing. Just like one of my coaches, Lisa Nichols, she said, I can't do an Oprah Winfrey, but I could do a mean Lisa Nichols. Same thing for you, whatever your name is. My name is Veronica. I can't do a Lisa Nichols, but I could do a damn good Veronica Pryor-Faciane, because that's who I am.
Yes, and knowing who you are is really key to beating out those negative thoughts, because you have to be able to wake up and say, no, this is who I am. I'm not going to accept anything outside of, what it is I said I was going to do. I'm not going to, and then mind you, granted, there's a difference between stepping outside of your comfort zone to learn something new that's going to be implemented in your business that's great for your business, as opposed to you stepping out and doing something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. I've come across so many people that push you.
And that is key.
That's it. They'll push you into something else, and it has nothing to do with your topic of interest. It has nothing to do with you being the expert in your industry. It's just, oh, no, because this sounds better.
And see, to me, that's when you have to learn that little 2-letter word, no. Or you can be nice, no, thank you. And see, just like when you're saying when you get up, when you get up in the morning, you have to start your days with intention. If you don't have an intention to know where you're going, that's your roadmap. And if you don't have a roadmap, then you're like a fish out of water. You're just flopping all over the place. And you don't want to have it where you feel that you're not accomplishing things. So that's why it's important to set your roadmap and set your intentions. You may have 1 or 2 things you want to accomplish, but you know your big goal. But you have to set up your little mini goals, because if you start experiencing those little mini wins, it helps you to keep going. It helps you to combat the negative thoughts that's saying, well, I'm not doing this. No, you haven't got there yet. But you accomplish this little goal or that little goal. Say, for instance, like for me, my big goal is to set up my signature conference towards the end of the year. So if you're setting up your signature, going to different other conferences, I'm speaking, I'm vending. These are the little steps leading up to it. I'm not going to just jump and say, oh, I'm going to do, and then I'm also working along with other people, learning from them. Because if Rome was not built in a day, somebody had a roadmap to tell them how to set up Rome. Why should I take and travel path and try to do something where somebody's already did it? That's why us sisters and brothers need to stick with each other. That's why I call people kings and queens. We shouldn't have that mentality of pulling each other down, but uplifting each other. So that way, when someone comes out, if you have that one person that you can connect to and say, well, I feel this, well, you have to have that, nope, let's restructure that thought. Like I had one of my persons that said, well, I'm a warrior. No, you have a habit of warring. That's a difference, because we have to watch what we speak out our mouths. You may think certain things, but if you speak it, you give power to it. And we have to restructure our thought process. That's key to being successful in any form of business. Even if you don't want a business, that's key to being successful in life.
You said something that hit home right there. When we speak it, we're giving power to that scenario, to that situation. And a lot of times when we're frustrated because of all that negativity, that's what we end up doing. We're rehearsing the negativity. We're rehearsing the negative thoughts. We're rehearsing the negative words. And it's a really bad habit of being on this carousel. And you just going around and around. And at some point you're like, well, I'm not really making any progress because you haven't gotten off the carousel.
Yes. That's key. That's very key. That's key to any part of your life, even when you're doing it, because just like I tell people all the time, so many people talk about wealth. Well, you're building a wealth with a business. But if you don't have that mental wealth, and that's restructuring those thoughts, because if something comes, it's not saying that they're not going to come, because everybody has instilled in them the fight or flight. But you want to have to be able to talk to yourself and say, you know what, self? And self say, you know what? I appreciate you saying that I may fall off a cliff with doing this, but I know that this is the direction that I need to go in. I just need to find a little stepping stones to get there. Thank you, self. I appreciate you for trying to make me nervous or have me be concerned, but right now I think I have it. And you just have to keep continuously doing it. Because even in the Bible, for those that do believe or what have you, it says with them these negative thoughts, conversations, that cognitive dissonance, conversations that are not serving you, you're only building up that foundation of negativity. And you won't get anywhere. You won't become your best blessed selves. You won't be able of mental wealth, less alone getting the physical wealth. Because you may get the physical wealth, but if you don't have that mental wealth, how are you going to keep it? We see that so many with people with September coming up as Suicide Awareness Month. You can have a lot of people, they will have but you need to have that mental wealth in conjunction in order to keep it. So we're out here as business owners and we're doing this, but what is your mental wealth? How are you building your mental wealth in order to keep the financial wealth that you're trying to do?
And a lot of times we're instead of building our mental wealth, we're kind of just giving it away.
Yes.
Because we want to be strong for everybody else, and we take on a whole brunt of stuff when it comes to those negative thoughts. We take on a whole brunt of stuff, and we don't want to discuss it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to, sit down and because we have this idea in our head that when we talk about it, it's real, but it's still real even if you're not talking about it.
Yes. And that's true, because how you say, if you don't be your truth, that's just like even with my story. The more I tell my story, and I don't want to be as open as you are, and you don't have to be. The most important person to be open with is yourself. And if you go to a therapist or what have you, because you have to have that person that you can trust. And right now, if you're not open with yourself, you're not going to get it any better. Because if you keep saying, well, you keep placing in the back of your mind, or you keep dwelling in the why, or the why me, Lord, or what if this, you're not living in the now. And living in the present is key into becoming a wealthy person, whether it be financial or mental. Because you can't keep living in the past. That's not building up your mental wealth. And so many business owners, when you're dealing with your businesses and stuff like that, we're going to have those obstacles. But just like the diamond, it takes a lot of pressure and a lot of rough courses, but you learn from that. You shouldn't allow it to destroy you, but you should allow it to build you.
I absolutely love that. Now, we know that when it comes to this journey, becoming the speaker, what was your, everybody has a different experience with that first time on stage. What did that first time on stage really feel like for you? And were there any negative thoughts that you dealt with because of that first experience?
Okay, the first time, What is it that I really have to offer? What if I fall flat on my face? What if I'm thinking I have a message, but I really don't have a message that will resonate? There's a lot of what ifs, and I had to tell myself, you know what? Just speak. Just speak. You be prepared and you're unprepared and you don't have your roadmap set out because you don't want to just talk off the top of your head and not be prepared, because people will understand. They will see that. They will see right through you. And then when you're speaking to someone, you won't want to speak, in my opinion, of just you want to show how it's going to benefit them. Because I could be speaking all that and just talking about me and I and I and I. It's not that. They want to know, okay, how does this relate to me? You talking about you. I don't want to hear the I song. I want to know, how is this message going to help me to become a stronger person, to become a better person, so that I too can be the light that I want to see in society and pass it on to someone else. And it took a lot to do that, because getting up there, I was, like I said, I was petrified. Teeth chattering, knees knocking, everything, literally petrified. And I'm like, okay, just talk. Just talk, girl. Just talk. Stop. Get out your head. Speak. Just like God said, let there be. Just let there be. Message. Talk. And then the more that I started speaking, the more I went live consistent, helped to build up my confidence. But I don't want no one to think that every time you start speaking that you don't get that nervousness. I call that Holy Spirit grounding for me, because it lets me know that it's not me speaking, but it's God speaking through. To just say, okay, God, be there and stand with me and speak through me.
It's so interesting. So one of the things that I often find is that, people have asked me in the past about, do I write notes, and how do I set up my speech? And I said, no, I don't write notes. I have bullet points in my head that I talk about and discuss, simply because I always want to keep eye contact with the audience, and I want to keep engagement with the audience. But I always have, someone who's just like, but I'm so nervous. And I go, I still get nervous. I still get nervous. And they're like, no, you're not nervous. I've seen you speak. I've seen you do live streaming. I've seen you do podcasting. There's no way that you're nervous. And it's not that you don't get nervous. You still get nervous. But I know ways for me to get past that nervousness. One of the things that I always would say to myself every time I spoke was, I said that there's one person in the audience that needs this, and if I don't get up there and say it, they won't get what they need. And so there was no stepping back at that point, because somebody needed what it was I was going to talk about. And you just have to build yourself up in that way. And for you, it may be something else. It may be something that you bring with you, that you look at before you go on stage. There are some people that do some interesting things before they get on stage to speak. I think Tony Robbins jumps on a trampoline, and everybody does something different.
Trust me, we everybody does. Because with me, I bounce, and I'm going to say the word bounce. I bounce a lot of, how you say, gospel music, and I'd be singing your best is yet to come. And I won't he do it yesterday? I'd be like, yup. I have to do what I have to do. And I get it in my head. So I be my own hype man. And I don't know if it's because the prior in my blood, but I hype my own self up. And then when I get up there and I start talking, I try to make sure, because so many people to look at the clock above the room, and so everybody won't know if they're not listening. I don't do that. I have to try to make contact with different people in the audience, because to me, that's a part of my truth. I don't look above, and that's what makes me more nervous, because I want to give that contact. I want to walk the room. I want people to know that I don't care whether they buy, what they do. I want you to take and to understand that you know what, you are not alone in whatever topic we're talking about or we're discussing. And I didn't know that not too long ago, someone had brought it to my attention when they were speaking about it on a podcast that I was on, and they were saying she makes sure she makes contact, and I'm thinking they do pay attention, because I do, and I'm literally sometimes I will even have to take off my heels because my knees literally are shaking and I don't want to lose balance. So I'll walk flat-footed to do that to make sure I keep my balance. I want to walk that room. I want to connect with almost every individual in that room because they matter. And I want them to know that they matter. I want my message to come across that they matter and that I'm just not up here speaking safe. Because sometimes when I'm speaking, a lot of times I will give, if I'm speaking to someone, if it's about domestic violence, they have to know because they may not have the funds to be, because they're trying to situation. But it's for me to be in that room to see the need and plant the seed.
See the need and plant the seed. That is so powerful. I think another piece of the negativity that we deal with comes from us having unrealistic expectations within ourselves, even within our network and our community. There has been a huge shift when it comes to events, to where you see a lot more people going to small events, or if it's a big event, it's like a well-known person, but you see like this whole shift. And it's because, expectations have definitely changed. I don't want to just come and get excited and woo, yeah, and sweat out my weave and all of that. I don't want to just come and do that. I go to a concert and do that. I want some actionable steps. I want some real stuff, some real life stuff that I can take back with me and say, here's step 1 for me, here's step 2, and here's step 3. And, we got to go back and say, okay, what expectations am I putting on myself? Because I know for me in the beginning, the expectation was, oh, yeah, I want to be on that level of Lisa Nichols. I want to be able to share my message all around the world. And well, that's great, but I'm not Lisa Nichols. And so how my message is going to get out is going to be completely different than hers. It just is.
Mm-hmm. And I truly, how you say, we are here. We are here. And just like I say, when I speak to people, a lot of people, they want to go and they're giving their, giving their spiel or speaking, and they're looking for to get. I'm not saying that you're not going to get paid for what you do. I'm not saying that at all. Because to me, your gifts will make room. But sometimes when you're dealing out there, depending on the platform or the subject matter, you may have to give of yourself because we are servant leaders, no matter what industry we are. And if you know that you're a servant leader, servants don't always see, I'm going to say, financial gain. But I gain so much with connections. I gain so much with having a sisterhood or a brotherhood and meeting other kings and queens in there. So it's not always about $1 because they're pouring into me. Because if my cup is empty and they pouring into me, to me, that's worth more than me getting this person or selling that book. Because so many people, they feel, oh, you're an author, you must be selling a lot of books. Baby, a book is a high-paid business card. That's what a book is. But it gets you into places. And people don't understand that. They're thinking, oh, you must be saying no. It lets your people to understand that you are an authority, that you took the time out to do the research, depending on what it is, to say, okay, you know what? I want to learn more about this because this is important, which means I can import it to you.
That is so true. That is one of the key things that I'm always telling people, is that your book is a business card. Don't think that you're going to be out here selling thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of copies. Now you can, granted you can, but it's going to take work. It take a lot of work, but
a whole heap of work.
It does make you an authority in that arena. And it does. I've gone and given people a copy of my book. I've gone, to events and been speaking to people and handed somebody a copy, or not even be speaking, go to a networking event. I've handed somebody a copy of my book, simply because, again, when you know who you are and you're showing up as the authority, there's a different mentality. When you start battling those negative thoughts, you have to show up with some confidence. And when you hand someone your book, that's part of that confidence. Because you're saying, listen, I took the time to write this. I sure enough did. I took the time to write it, to get it edited, to get it published, because there are so many people that want to write a book that still have not done so.
Yes, because of those negative thoughts, which is stopping them and cause them to procrastinate. So what if this and what if, and you have to, that's a curse word. That's like why to me. Why is a curse word to me? I know it's in the English. So the whys wouldn't have allowed me to become who I am today if I stayed in the whys. I had to learn to stay because the Bible tells us, give us this day, which means I need to stay in the present. So if I'm supposed to give this day, that means this day when I'm focusing on this, you know what? I'm going to write this, because a lot of people say, well, how do you do all the stuff that you do? You're traveling here, you're doing this, you're a mom, you have a full-time investor. I'm not going to call it a job, a full-time investor, you're married. I say, because I set out my time. I learned about time management. I say, because no matter whether I have ADHD, PTSD, and all those other things that I'm dealing with, they are a part of me, but I'm not going to let them control me. I'm not going to let them infester me with all these negative things. I refuse, but that's a mindset. And it doesn't say it doesn't affect me, but I'm not going to let it continue infecting me.
That's just like people say, I don't have the money to write a book. No, you have the money. What are you doing with the money you have? And the same thing with your time. No, you have the time.
Exactly.
What are you
or
doing?
like exactly, what are you doing with your time? Yes. And it's key because like I know, like I did it myself. I had a cousin that was a writer that worked for a major newspaper. She did some of my editing. Then I also family. I did a lot of stuff myself. So you may have to put more into it if you figure you don't have the finance. Keep pushing. The point is to get it out. How you say you birthing that, birth it. Then when you birth your next one and your next one, see that speaking into you. Because if you birth one, that means you have something else inside of you born. So you keep birthing it. And the more you do it, the more you will grow. That's just like babies. Babies wilding when they get. You may fall out. Keep getting back up.
And that's the truth of it, because you will have many instances. You will not know everything. There is nobody who is in the industry who knows every single piece of the industry. It doesn't matter how long they've been in the industry. It doesn't matter how many books they've published. There is no one, because the industry always changes. As an author, the industry is always changing. We now have live stream. We now have podcasting. There's so many different things that have been added to make it easier for us to market if we know how. The speaking industry has changed completely, whereas most people were trying to focus on being a keynote speaker, which was great and still is a great, thing to leverage and to go after. But there are so many other opportunities out there that are being missed because you think the only opportunities are for you to be on a stage with Lisa Nichols. Well, no, there are colleges that use motivational speakers. There are high schools that use motivational speakers.
Yes.
There are, everybody and anybody. I've just had someone reach out to me and was like, have you looked into the real estate, arena and, the rental property arena, and they get motivational speak. There's so many different avenues, but when we come in, we've been, only shown certain things. So we have this like tunnel vision on that's the only option, and it's not.
And that's so true, because just like you said, people reaching out to you, because I had a fellow associate reach out. She does like this I Can empowerment for females. Well, she asked me to speak on a topic of relationships to females because I saw the negative aspect and the positive. But from the negative, we carry so many negative things from other relationships into the new one, to where you're not giving it a chance to grow. And once again, that's what that mindset. And so how you say, I'm talking about mindset, but it's using a different tool. That's personal experience. But along with the Bible and other things and other stuff that I've learned, I like say, for instance, like the power of learning a person's love language. You deal with that on a daily basis, even at work when I'm working with people. You notice some people are talkers, some people, they need that positive reinforcement. Some people don't need that. They're go-getters. They want to be left the heck alone. You have to learn a person and you meet them at that need. Or even when you go into Burger King. I went to Burger King and I was sitting in the drive-thru too long, and I went in and I said, and you took a while, and I was trying to figure out, all I wanted was 2 tacos, and a lady came out there, well, we had this problem. Calm down. All I was trying to find out is to suggest that we communicate. All you needed to do, I don't mind waiting. The next day when she went to replace it, the attitude was totally different. But we play a role in it. Or when we getting up in the morning, we're going, everybody racing. Why you always rushing? You're not living in the here and now. Get up a little bit earlier, a lot earlier. Because that's when when it's still, that's when you get your good thoughts. Not when you're always rushing and in an uproar. You need to get that stillness and take your time, plan it out. Be in a better mood. And then it helps to project your business as well.
Yes, it does, because that sets you apart. Because we are in such a market in an industry that's going, that it's only the ones that slow down and, you're like, you take notice of them because you're like, well, everybody else is running in this direction, and now they running in that direction, and you're not running in either of those directions. I had a client say to me, she said, you were different. She said, with everybody else that I was looking at, everything that I saw you doing was different, and it stood out. And I said, yeah, because there's no reason for me to be like everyone else. I'm not here to be like everyone else. I'm not here to fall in line. I'm not here. I'm just not.
And that's the truth. How you say you are you. And that's what we want to teach people. So many people in society, that's why we have the bullying of people. I'm trying to do this. So I'm trying to get thin. I'm trying to look like this. I want my hair this way. That was one of the reasons why I wound up getting locks in my hair when I was working with children, because my hair was the wavy straight, and I got frustrated because I thought it wasn't going to lock up at first, because I wanted to use it as a teaching tool, that you are not your hair. You are not your clothes. You define the clothes. You define your hair, not vice versa. Everything that I do, how you say, is calculated. Even with the name of my business, New ID. It's your true ID, because in society, from the ages of 0 to 7 or what have you, your society, your parents, all those people put into you who you become. Now, what do you want to become? Not what society made you. Hence, that's your new true ID. Because for so long, I knew what everybody else, Veronica, said I was, but I didn't know who Veronica was. And right now, I'm starting to love this chick. I know I'm a queen. And how you say, and when you start to love yourself, when other people pass their opinions of you, it's like, whatever.
It's going to be like water off a duck back.
Exactly. High and fire is necessary. I'm the CEO of my joy. And if I have to fire you, good riddance. You just have to watch your circle, because when you're doing that and you're dealing with your business, you have some people that you will see to start being mean to you, that you didn't expect it, that you were looking up to. You can't do that. You take a person at their face value, like an old person says. When somebody show you who they are, believe them the first time.
It is. Believe them.
The first time.
The first time. Because they was telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to have to repeat it and show it even more.
Yeah, and then it just hurts you, because then you start sitting by and you go into that why. Well, I wonder why they did this to me.
Mm-hmm.
All I tried to ever do was help. No, they didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself. That's just like people stay in different relationships. Yes, that person may have been abusive, and yes, they may have experienced abuse, but why do you choose to accept it? It's something internal that you need to peel back them onion layers and do the work to find out why you accepting that.
I absolutely love it. Now, something that I ask every guest that comes on is, have you had any blunders in this journey so far? So a time where you can look back and say, you know what? That wasn't the best option or idea.
Did I purchasing something too soon? Because you see this person and that person and that person is, oh, I need that. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. And then once you actually get it, it's like, I spent all this money and I'm not getting out of it what I thought. Because for me, I'm going to tell you this. Lisa Nichols had me spoiled because I thought everybody else was similar to her. Now, I may not do every single, and then when you get to other people, it's like, oh, well, they're teaching me this on the camera, or they're teaching me that. And then when you get to it, it's like, you said this, but that's not what you're delivering. And so now I've learned to stop, pause for the cause, and actually think about it. Okay, let's think your way through this. Do you really need this program? Is this something that you're doing on a whim because you're feeling good? Now I don't buy nothing just because like that. I have to give myself 5 to 7 days to actually think my way through it before I make a decision. And if they say you have to make a decision now, then that's not for me. And that's what I tell other people. If you're going to do it, no, I want you to know that you're ready. I don't want you to make them haphazard purchases because so many people get into unnecessary debt because of that. And then you have that wish I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda. And that's what messes with your peace. That's my biggest thing right there. And now I feel good about it because I had someone approach me the other day about a book offer. And I'm thinking, oh, that sounds good. But why do I need to pay you to tell my story? I understand you may be well known in the industry, but why do I need you? I need you to tell me what you're going to give me. Okay, what about the marketing? What about this? Well, you have to do this. So why am I paying you again?
Mm.
And
but
you have to not be impatient because so many people want things now. And so I say, you know what, God, I trust the process. Because you would think, or you may fall and say, oh, yes, this person can help me get into it now. No, if you think your way through it, they said you still have to do this. So if I'm doing this, take your time and do the process. Because you are the best investor in yourself.
That's it.
Don't rush.
And you know what's interesting is that when you make purchases like that on a whim, is that it adds to the negative thoughts. Because once you realize that it was not something you needed, once you realize that it was not something that was pushing you forward and something that was going to elevate you to the level that you thought it was going to elevate you, you now have gotten yourself to a point where now you're going back, now you're depressed, now you're frustrated, now you're angry, now you're agitated, now you're bitter because you done went through this process of paying out all this money, and now you're looking around going, it's not even something I'm using.
Exactly. But what I did in that situation, instead of becoming bitter, because I did get that emotion, because it's normal emotions, I said, okay, Veronica, step back and look at what you did. What steps did you take? Now, what can you change? Everything should be, how you say, you may have fallen off that cliff, but what did you learn from falling off that cliff? What parachute did you gain out of that? That's what's important. Just like I say, everybody goes through things. You can learn from others, but sometimes you're going to learn from your own mistakes. That's just like I read a quote that Michael Jordan said that people with failure, and I'm redefining failure for myself. Because if I keep trying and I'm learning from the trying, to me, failure is not trying. Not trying and not making the mark the way you see you should make the mark. But if you gaining and you learning from that mark, then is it actually failure?
Not at all. Not at all. Most definitely. And it's been a process of that. That's something that I want the listeners to definitely understand and grasp a hold of, is that this is the process. Yes. Is that, we're telling you this because this is the process. This is what many of us, even the Les Browns, even Lisa Nichols, even the Tony Robbins, this is what they've had to endure to get to this point that they're at now. And when we're coming in, we may see the point where they're at right now. We're like, yeah, we want to do that. But you have to understand, it's a lot to get there.
And see, and just like I say, even with, because I think we both share the same coach and mentor, Lisa Nichols, she tells you it was a lot of days that she was doing the Roman noodles. Everybody want the 20 years down the line, but you don't want to, and the process, instead of looking at the process as negative, look at it as crafting. Because just like, and this may seem a little gross, but when you're dealing with the poop, think about when they were building, how you say, Egypt and stuff. They stand in that mortar and they step in it. You keep stepping in it. But as it thickens up, it becomes a cement to build you up to the next part. So even though you may be going through the different poop, how are you making it into the cement to build your next stone to get to the next step you need to get to? It's all in the matter of how you perceive it. Yes, this may be some poop, but you know what? I'm going to sit there and I'm going to keep churning this until I build the cement to give me the next block, to get me to the next step, to get me to my next. Because it's not going to go fast. It's a process. And when you're trying to go faster, you're really enjoying it. That's when you're not taking the time to go, you know what? Let me take stop, pause, deep breath, and just smell the roses. Because when I do that, even in the midst of having a blunder, I look at my blunders differently.
I love that. I look at my blunders differently. You guys, listen, this has been an amazing episode. And I know you're like, oh my goodness, they can't be ready to be done yet. Listen, I know, I understand it. But some of you are going to have to go back and re-listen to this simply because it's going to be something that's going to motivate you and support you and encourage you along the way on this journey. What I want you to do, Veronica, let them know how they can reach out to you and where they can find your book as well.
Okay, my book is on Amazon and on that platform, and also it's on Draft to Digital for all the e-versions. And you can also email me at new ID Life Coaching 888 at gmail.com. That's new ID Life Coaching 888 at gmail.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram at new ID 888, on Facebook. New ID as well. Everything is new ID because I want them to know that this is your true ID. So everything is new ID. And if you message me, if you want me to send you a signed copy, just message me via Facebook from Veronica Pryor-Faciane on new ID, and I will get back in contact.
Most definitely. Guys, you know that we talk to you guys, and I love and appreciate you guys simply because there's no Speakeasy podcast without the Speakeasy podcast listeners, those who listen in live and those who come via the replay. We always appreciate you guys. Don't forget that we want to know how this particular episode resonated with you. So if you could give us a review over on Apple Podcasts, go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast Show, all lowercase. We would love to hear your review of this particular show. And that part, on top of that, if you are a speaker and author, I'd love to have you on as a guest. If you go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast, you can choose a date that works best for you. Guys, this has been an amazing episode because, listen, if for nothing else, fighting those negative thoughts is a daily task, guys. It is a daily action that you must take in order for you to reach the level of success that you're going after. I am your host, Altavis Pelzer, the voice coach, founder of the World Voice League. And listen, until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.